The massive crystal chamber of the Galactic Council sparkled under the light of 3 artificial suns. Around the circular table, representatives from the 12 most powerful species in the galaxy sat in tense silence. Their meeting had gone on for 6 hours, and still, no one had stepped forward to handle the crisis. Tom Miller, the human representative, watched quietly from his seat. He was the newest addition to the council, and by far the least impressive-looking. While other representatives wore elaborate armor or displayed their natural weapons proudly, he sat there in a simple blue uniform, taking notes on his tablet. At the center of the table, a hologram showed the growing disaster. A strange, purple cloud of energy was spreading through the Orion arm of the galaxy, destroying everything in its path. Already, 3 outer colonies had gone dark. "This threat must be met with force," thundered Representative Krell, his scaled armor clicking as he stood up. His species, the Dracons, were known across the galaxy as fearless warriors. "We should send our combined fleets to destroy this menace." "The Dracons always think with their weapons instead of their minds," growled Representative Mira. Her fox-like features twisted in a smile that showed sharp teeth. "But my people agree. The Iron Pack stands ready to fight." Tom looked at his notes again. The casualty reports from the outer colonies were troubling. Every species that had tried to fight the anomaly directly had failed. Their weapons seemed to make it stronger, not weaker. "The mighty Dracons speak of battle," rumbled General Vox, his stone-like skin gleaming. "But I notice they haven't sent their own ships yet. Could the great warriors be hesitating?" The chamber erupted in arguments. Each species boasted of their battle prowess, their great victories, their fearless nature. Yet none had taken action against the threat. Finally, High Counselor Axon raised all 4 of his arms for silence. "Perhaps we should hear from our newest member. Human, what do your people suggest?" All eyes turned to Tom. He cleared his throat and stood up slowly. "We need more information before we commit to action," he said. "The data shows that direct attacks make the anomaly grow stronger. We should send scout ships first, study its behavior, and—" Laughter interrupted him. "Typical human caution," sneered Krell. "Always hiding, always running tests while others fight. The humans survived their evolution by running away from predators," Mira added with a smirk. "What else can we expect from such a cowardly species?" Tom remained calm. He had expected this reaction. "Our survival instincts kept us alive long enough to reach the stars," he said. "And now those same instincts are telling us to be careful. This threat is unlike anything we've seen before." "Careful? Ha!" General Vox's stone-like fist hit the table. "While you humans run your tests and hide in your labs, more colonies will die. We need warriors, not scientists." Tom sat down and continued taking notes. Under the table, his finger pressed a small button on his communicator. Back on Earth, Operation Shadow Shield was now officially activated. While the Council argued about who was the bravest, human ships were already being prepared. "Let the record show," High Counselor Axon announced, "that the human representative chooses not to commit forces to this crisis. How disappointing, if not surprising." As the council meeting continued, Tom thought about the fleet of stealth ships Earth had been secretly building. Ships designed to rescue colonies rather than fight battles. Ships equipped with sensors and scientific equipment instead of heavy weapons. The other species could mock humanity's caution all they wanted. Tom knew something they didn't. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit you don't know enough to act yet. Later, as he walked back to his quarters, Tom sent a simple message to Earth Command. "Council deadlocked. Proceed with Phase 1. The response came quickly. "Understood. First rescue fleet launches in 6 hours. They'll never see us coming." Tom smiled slightly. Let them call humans cowards. While the warrior races argued about who was bravest, his people would quietly do what they did best: survive, adapt, and protect others. The real test was about to begin. 2 weeks after the council meeting, the situation had grown worse. The purple anomaly had doubled in size, swallowing 3 more colony worlds. The mighty warships of various species floated dead in space, their crews lost after failed attacks against the strange phenomenon. In the observation room of Earth's space station, Hope, Captain Mike Reed watched the incoming rescue reports. His small team worked quietly at their stations, monitoring dozens of stealth ships spread across the danger zone. Unlike the massive warships of other species, human vessels were small, dark, and nearly impossible to detect. "Rescue Ship Delta reports success, sir," said Jane, his communications officer. 36 survivors picked up from Mining Station 7. No losses. Mike nodded, marking another green dot on his display. That made 18 successful rescue missions in the past week. While other species sent their warships to fight the anomaly head-on, human ships slipped in and out of danger zones, saving who they could. The main screen suddenly lit up with new activity. A fleet of Drakon warships, their golden hulls shining like small suns, charged toward the anomaly's edge. Their weapons blazed, filling space with energy beams and plasma torpedoes. "Here we go again," Mike sighed. "Watch carefully, everyone. Let's learn from their mistake." The attack lasted less than 10 minutes. As with every previous attempt, the anomaly seemed to absorb the weapons fire. It grew larger, its purple tendrils reaching out like hungry fingers. The Drakon ships tried to retreat, but 2 of them were caught. They vanished into the purple mist, adding to the growing list of losses. "Send the data to analysis," Mike ordered, "and check if there are any survivors from those ships." Before his team could respond, an alert flashed on their screens. A transmission from the Galactic Council was broadcasting on all channels. The face of High Counselor Axon appeared, all 4 eyes showing clear worry. "This is an emergency announcement. The anomaly has changed course. It now moves toward the Centauri trading hub. 6 billion lives are at risk. We call upon all warrior races to join forces and—" Jane muted the transmission. "Sir, we have the analysis from the last Drakon attack. The science team reports something interesting." Mike moved to her station. The data showed energy patterns he hadn't seen before. The anomaly's reaction was stronger this time. It's not just absorbing the attacks, it's learning from them. "Correct, sir." Jane pointed to a series of numbers. "Each aggressive action makes it grow faster. It's like it feeds on violent energy." Mike thought about the human ships out there right now. Small, quiet vessels that avoided combat, focusing only on saving lives. Not a single one had been lost yet. "Send this data to Tom at the Council," he ordered, "and prepare a full report for Earth Command. I think we're starting to understand what we're dealing with." Just then, another alert sounded. The Iron Pack, famous for their warrior culture, had launched their entire battle fleet toward the anomaly. Their ships were already firing weapons from long range. "Should we warn them, sir?" asked one of his officers. Mike shook his head. "They wouldn't listen. But track their attack pattern. Position our rescue ships nearby. There will be survivors to save soon." He watched as the Iron Pack fleet met the same fate as the others. More ships lost, more lives in danger. Yet the proud warriors of the galaxy kept trying the same failed tactics, too proud to admit their way wasn't working. In the corner of his display, green dots continued to appear as human rescue ships completed their missions. No fanfare, no grand battles, just quiet efficiency. The cowards of the galaxy, saving one life at a time. "New message from Earth Command, sir," Jane announced. "They're deploying Phase 2 ships, full stealth research vessels." Mike smiled. While others fought and lost, humanity would do what it did best: watch, learn, and find a better way. Their so-called cowardice had taught them patience, and patience was proving to be the greatest weapon of all. "Tell all ships to maintain rescue operations," he ordered, "and remind them, no heroics, no battles. We're not here to fight the anomaly." "Then what are we here for, sir?" asked a young officer. "We're here to outsmart it," Mike replied. "And sometimes That means knowing when not to fight at all. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council wasn't going well. The massive purple anomaly now threatened the Centauri trading hub, home to billions. On the main screen, another warrior fleet burned away into nothing, their weapons only making the threat stronger. Tom Miller walked into the council chamber, carrying a simple data pad. The room fell silent as he approached the center. Even the proudest warriors couldn't ignore the facts anymore. Their ships were failing, while human rescue missions had a perfect success rate. "The cowardly humans finally decide to join us," growled Representative Krell. His scaled armor was dull now, having lost its shine after the defeat of his fleet. "Come to take notes while real warriors die." Tom connected his pad to the main display. "Actually, we've figured out what the anomaly is, and more importantly, why your attacks are making it stronger." The chamber erupted in surprised whispers. High Counselor Axon leaned forward, all four eyes focused on the human. "Explain." "Our research ships have been studying the anomaly while conducting rescue operations," Tom said. Images appeared on the screen, showing energy patterns and data charts. "It's not just a cloud of energy. It's alive, and it feeds on aggressive actions." "Impossible," shouted General Vox, his stone-like fists hitting the table. The anomaly's display readings spiked at his outburst, proving Tom's point. "Look at the energy patterns," Tom continued calmly. "Every time someone attacks it, every time there's an aggressive action near it, it grows stronger. But our rescue ships, using stealth and careful movements, pass right through it unharmed." Representative Mira of the Iron Pack stood up, her fox-like features showing confusion. "Are you suggesting we show fear in the face of an enemy, like humans always do?" "I'm suggesting we learn from fear," Tom replied. "Humans aren't cowards. We're survivors. Fear kept our ancestors alive when stronger, faster predators hunted them. Fear taught us to think before acting, to find smart solutions instead of rushing into danger." He showed footage of human rescue ships smoothly navigating through the anomaly's edges. "See how our ships move. No sudden actions, no aggressive maneuvers. We respect the danger, work with it instead of against it." The council members watched in silence as more data appeared. The anomaly's reaction to different approaches was clear. Violence made it stronger, while careful, peaceful actions left it undisturbed. "Your warriors are brave," Tom said, looking around the room. "But sometimes bravery isn't enough. Sometimes you need to be smart, to understand your fear and use it." High Counselor Axon studied the data carefully. "You knew this from the beginning. Why didn't you tell us sooner? Would you have listened?" Tom asked simply. "When all you respected was aggressive action, would you have believed the cowardly humans?" The truth of his words hung heavy in the air. Thousands of warriors had died trying to fight the anomaly, while humans quietly saved survivors and gathered information. "So what do you suggest?" asked Representative Mira, her voice lacking its usual mockery. Tom brought up a new display showing a detailed plan. "We've developed a strategy based on our research. It requires patience, careful timing, and most importantly, the courage to act wisely instead of aggressively." "You speak of courage." Krell scoffed, but his voice was uncertain. "Your people hide and run. Our people survive," Tom corrected, "and help others survive too. Did you know human rescue ships have saved over 2,000 of your warriors so far? The ones who learned too late that charging in wasn't the answer." That silenced the chamber completely. On the screens, another set of green dots appeared. More successful human rescue missions. "The anomaly reaches the trading hub in 3 days," Tom said quietly. "You can keep sending ships to die, or you can try something new, something that requires a different kind of courage. The courage to admit that maybe, just maybe, the cowardly humans know what they're talking about." High Counselor Axon stood slowly. "Tell us your plan, human representative." "All of it." Tom smiled slightly. Finally, they were ready to learn. Sometimes the bravest thing wasn't charging into battle. It was admitting you needed a better way. The first step, he began, is understanding that fear isn't your enemy. It's a tool, and we're going to teach you how to use it. Captain Lisa Baker's small rescue ship Nightingale drifted silently through the purple mist of the anomaly. In the pilot's seat, she kept her movements smooth and gentle, like a leaf floating on water. Behind her, 20 rescued aliens from 3 different species watched in amazement as the tiny human vessel did what their mighty warships couldn't: survive. "How is this possible?" whispered a young Drakon warrior, his scaled armor dusty from his escape. "Our greatest battleships couldn't even get close to this thing." Lisa smiled but kept her eyes on the controls. "Sometimes the smallest mouse survives while the lion falls," she said. "It's all about not being noticed." The ship's sensors blinked quietly, showing 4 more life signs ahead. Another broken ship, more survivors to save. 2 days had passed since the humans revealed their findings to the Council, and now everyone was watching how they handled the crisis. "Emergency signal detected," reported Rob, her co-pilot. "Looks like an Iron Pack patrol ship. 3 survivors in the front section, 1 in the back." Lisa nodded, adjusting their course slightly. "Send the approach message in their language. Let them know to stay calm and avoid any sudden movements or weapons fire." The damaged Iron Pack ship came into view through the purple haze. Its weapons were melted and holes covered its hull. But in the front windows, Lisa could see movement, survivors waving desperately. "This is Human Rescue Ship Nightingale," she transmitted. "Remain still. We're coming to get you." She guided her ship closer, using the special approach pattern developed by Earth's scientists. No straight lines, no aggressive moves, just smooth curves and gentle drifts. The anomaly's purple tendrils swayed around them, but didn't attack. "Amazing," muttered another rescued alien, this one with stone-like skin. "We thought humans were cowards for moving so carefully. But this is like watching artists dance through death itself." The rescue took 12 minutes. 12 careful, patient minutes of precise movement and calm actions. The survivors were brought aboard using extending walkways instead of transport beams. Another lesson learned from research. The anomaly reacted badly to energy signatures but ignored physical objects. "Rescue complete," Rob reported. "All 4 survivors aboard. That makes 24 total." Lisa started their exit route, another series of gentle curves and drifts. On her display, she could see other human rescue ships doing the same thing across different sectors. Green dots showing success after success. "Central Command calling all rescue ships," her radio crackled. "The anomaly has changed course again. It's accelerating toward the trading hub. New estimate gives us only 24 hours. The passengers tensed, but Lisa kept her movement smooth. Fear was normal, but letting it control you was dangerous. That's what humans had learned over countless generations of evolution. "Understood, Command," she replied. "Request permission to continue rescue operations at current position." "Granted, Nightingale. But be advised, the Council races are finally ready to try the human approach. Full implementation of Phase 3 begins in 6 hours. Lisa allowed herself a small smile. Phase 3. Teaching other species how to move through danger instead of attacking it. It had taken thousands of deaths and countless lost ships, but finally, the warrior races were ready to learn. "Your people," spoke up the young Drakon. "You've been practicing this all along, haven't you? Even before you knew what the anomaly was." "We've been practicing this since before we had spaceships," Lisa replied, guiding them around a particularly dense patch of purple energy. "On Earth, our ancestors learned that sometimes the best way to survive isn't to be the strongest or the fastest. Sometimes it's about being the smartest, the most careful." "But weren't you afraid?" asked one of the Iron Pack survivors. "Of course we were afraid," Rob answered. "Fear is what keeps you sharp, keeps you thinking. The trick isn't not being afraid. It's using that fear to make you better." The Nightingale emerged from the anomaly's edge, its hull untouched, its passengers safe. In the distance, Lisa could see other human ships teaching alien crews their methods. The mighty warriors of the galaxy were learning to move like mice instead of lions. "Command, this is Nightingale," Lisa reported. "Rescue successful. Returning to base to drop off survivors and resupply. Ready for next mission." Because that's what humans did best. They kept going, kept helping, kept showing that true courage wasn't about fighting every battle. Sometimes it was about finding a better way. The training room on Earth's space station, Hope, was packed with alien warriors. Representatives from every major species watched as Commander Jack Wilson demonstrated the human approach using a small practice ship in a simulator. "The key is smooth movement," Jack explained, his hands moving gently over the controls. "Think of it like walking past a sleeping predator. No sudden moves, no aggressive actions." In the front row, a massive Drakon commander named Hex watched with unusual patience. His battle fleet had lost 3 ships to the anomaly. Now, with only 18 hours until it reached the trading hub, even the proudest warriors were ready to learn from the cowardly humans. "But how do we fight it?" asked a young Ironpack officer, her fur bristling with frustration. "We can't just keep running away." Jack stopped the simulator. "Sometimes running away is the smartest move," he said. "Our ancestors survived by knowing when to fight and when to flee. Today, we're going to teach you both." He pressed a button, and the room's main screen showed dozens of human rescue ships moving through the anomaly. Their paths looked random at first, but the alien warriors soon saw the pattern. "Watch how our ships retreat," Jack pointed. "When the anomaly reacts strongly, they back away. When it's calm, they move forward. It's like a dance. 2 steps forward, 1 step back." "A dance of cowards," muttered someone in the back. Jack smiled. "Tell that to the 2,000 warriors our cowardly ships have rescued. Now let's try something new. Everyone to your simulators." The aliens moved to their stations. Each one had a simplified version of human controls, designed to teach smooth, careful movements instead of aggressive maneuvers. "First lesson," Jack announced. "Feel your fear, but don't let it control you. Let it guide you instead." The simulation began. The artificial anomaly appeared, its purple tendrils moving exactly like the real thing. One by one, the alien warriors tried to navigate through it. The first attempts were disasters. Years of combat training made them move too quickly, too aggressively. Their simulated ships were destroyed within seconds. "Again," Jack ordered. "But this time, imagine you're trying not to wake someone up. Every move should be gentle, planned." They tried again, and again. With each attempt, the mighty warriors of the galaxy learned to move more like humans, carefully, thoughtfully, respecting the danger instead of challenging it. "Better," Jack said after an hour. "Now for the hard part. We're going to teach you how to fight without fighting." He showed them new data on the main screen. "See these energy patterns? The anomaly feeds on aggression, but it has to move to absorb it. If we can predict its movements, we can lead it where we want," finished Kex, his eyes widening with understanding. "Like laying a trap." "Exactly," Jack nodded. "Not through force, but through patience and planning. The very things you called cowardly are our greatest weapons." The next hour was spent learning human battle tactics, strategies based on careful retreat and planned withdrawal. The aliens learned to use their fear as a tool, to think before acting, to move with purpose instead of pride. "Command center to training room," a voice interrupted. "The anomaly has changed course again. 15 hours until it reaches the trading hub." Jack looked at his students, some of the galaxy's finest warriors, now learning to think like humans. "Time for the final test," he said. "Show me what you've learned." The simulation changed, showing an exact copy of the current crisis. The artificial anomaly moved toward a populated area, just like the real one. This time, the alien warriors moved differently. Their ships danced through the purple mist like leaves in the wind. They retreated when needed, advanced when possible, and most importantly, they survived. "Well done," Jack said as the simulation ended. "You're starting to think like humans." "No," Kex corrected, standing up from his simulator. "We're starting to think like survivors. And maybe that's what the galaxy needs right now. Not more warriors, but more survivors." Jack smiled. The mighty warriors of the galaxy had finally learned what humans knew all along. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit there's a better way than fighting. "Command to all stations," the speaker announced. "Phase 4 begins in 1 hour. All ships prepare for deployment." The real test was about to begin. The combined fleet of all galactic species hung in space near the Centauri trading hub. For the first time in history, the mighty warships weren't at the front. Instead, they followed behind smaller human vessels, learning to move like shadows through the stars. Admiral Bob White stood on the bridge of Earth's command ship, Wisdom, watching as the massive purple anomaly approached. 10 hours remained before it would reach the trading hub. Billions of lives depended on whether the warrior races could remember their training. "All ships report ready," said his communications officer. "Even the Dracons and Iron Pack are maintaining position at reduced power, just as we taught them." Bob nodded. It must have been hard for the warrior races to power down their weapons, to hide in the darkness of space instead of charging forward with guns blazing. But they had learned, the hard way, that the old ways wouldn't work. "Begin Phase 4, he ordered. "All ships implement the human protocol." Across space, hundreds of ships began to move, not in straight lines or attack formations, but in gentle curves and careful drifts. The fleet split into smaller groups, spreading out like a giant net. "Admiral," Kex's voice came through the radio. The Dracon commander now led the combined alien fleet. "My warriors, they're nervous about running away from the enemy." "You're not running away," Bob replied calmly. "You're being smart. Remember what you learned. Respect the danger. Use your fear to stay sharp." The anomaly's edge reached their first line of ships. In the past, this would have meant instant battle. Now, the ships retreated slowly, carefully, leaving behind small probes that released gentle energy pulses. "Look at the readings," Bob pointed to his screen. The anomaly was following the retreating ships, drawn by their minimal energy signatures. "It's working. We're leading it away from the trading hub." Hour after hour, the fleet performed their careful dance. Each time the anomaly moved toward them, they pulled back slightly, leading it into a prepared position. The alien warriors were learning that patience could be as powerful as any weapon. "Enemy formation changing," reported the sensor officer. The anomaly was starting to split into smaller sections, trying to surround them. "Maintain calm," Bob transmitted to all ships. "Remember your training. Don't let fear push you into aggressive action. Trust the plan." He watched as the alien ships followed human tactics perfectly. When a tendril of purple energy reached for them, they didn't fire weapons or raise shields. Instead, they drifted away smoothly, like leaves in a stream. "Admiral," Kex's voice was excited. "The anomaly, it's following us exactly as you predicted. All those rescue missions, all that data you gathered." "Knowledge is power," Bob replied. "Sometimes the best way to win isn't to fight harder, but to understand better." The plan was working. Hour by hour, the combined fleet led the anomaly away from populated areas. The trading hub was almost safe, but the hardest part was still to come. "All ships prepare for Phase 5, Bob ordered. "Remember, no matter what happens, no aggressive actions. That's what it wants. That's what makes it stronger." Across the fleet, aliens who had spent their lives training for battle now prepared to win without fighting. They had seen how human cowardice had saved thousands of lives. They had learned that there was courage in caution, wisdom in withdrawal. "Anomaly approaching critical point," announced the science officer. 5 minutes until execution of final phase." Bob looked at his screen, where hundreds of green dots showed ships moving in perfect harmony. Humans and aliens working together, using fear as a tool instead of letting it use them. All ships, maintain position, he ordered. The next few minutes will decide everything. Trust in your training. Trust in the human way. Because that's what it had become, the human way. Not fighting when you could think, not attacking when you could understand, using the very things that others called weakness as your greatest strength. Final countdown beginning, called the operations officer. All ships report ready. Bob smiled. The mighty warriors of the galaxy had learned to be smart instead of just strong. Now it was time to show the anomaly what that meant. Phase 5, he ordered. Begin. The final phase began with silence. Hundreds of ships, both human and alien, powered down their engines almost completely. In the darkness of space, they barely showed up on sensors. The massive purple anomaly swirled around them, searching for the energy signatures it fed on. Admiral Bob White stood calmly on his bridge. Everything they had learned, every rescue mission, every careful retreat, had led to this moment. All ships confirm ready, he said quietly. Confirmed, reported his officers. Even the Drakon warships are running silent. That itself was a kind of victory. The proudest warriors in the galaxy, learning to be quiet and patient. Bob remembered how they had mocked humans for being careful. Now they used that same caution as their greatest weapon. Begin final sequence, he ordered, just like we practiced. Across the fleet, small probes launched silently into space. Each one carried a tiny energy source, barely stronger than a flashlight. The anomaly's purple tendrils reached for them curiously. It's working, transmitted Kex from his Drakon command ship. The creature is following the probes, just as you said it would. Bob watched his displays carefully. The anomaly had shown them its weakness during their rescue missions. It always moved toward energy sources, but got confused when they were too weak to feed on properly. All ships, begin Phase 5B, he ordered. Remember, smooth movements only. No sudden actions. The fleet started to move, each ship following careful paths they had practiced. They formed a giant circle, surrounding the anomaly but staying far enough away to avoid provoking it. Energy readings from the anomaly are dropping, reported the science officer. It's spending too much effort chasing the small probes, just as we planned. For hours, they had led it away from populated areas. Now they would show it why humans survived despite being weaker than Earth's predators. They were smarter. Launch second wave of probes, Bob commanded. These probes moved in different patterns, making the anomaly split its attention even further. The purple mass swirled faster, trying to catch the tiny energy sources, but each time it got close, the probes would drift away gently, leading it further into the trap. Energy levels down 30%, called out the science officer. 40%. It's working. The anomaly's color started to fade from deep purple to lighter shades. Without large energy sources to feed on, it was weakening itself by chasing the small probes. Now comes the hard part. Bob transmitted to the fleet. All ships hold position. No matter what happens, stay calm and quiet. The anomaly began to pulse, sending out waves of energy like a desperate animal. In the past, this would have caused the warrior races to attack. Now they held their positions, remembering their training. 50% reduction, reported science. 60, 70. The creature's purple color was almost transparent now. Its movements became slower, weaker. Still, the fleet held position, patient and quiet. It's trying to escape, called out Kex. Indeed, the anomaly was attempting to flee toward open space. Let it go, Bob ordered. Sometimes victory means letting your enemy retreat. We've shown it that there's no food here for it. They watched as the once mighty purple cloud shrank away into space, becoming smaller and weaker until their sensors could barely detect it. All ships, maintain position for 10 more minutes, Bob ordered. Victory through patience, just like we planned. When the 10 minutes passed, cheers erupted across all channels. The mighty warriors of the galaxy celebrated not a victory of weapons, but a victory of wisdom. I must admit, Kex's voice came through. When humans first joined the council, we thought you were cowards. Now we understand. You were teaching us all along." Bob smiled. "We learned long ago that survival isn't always about being the strongest. Sometimes it's about being the wisest." The fleet regrouped, heading back to the trading hub they had saved. But they returned different from how they had left. The warrior races had learned the human way. That true courage means knowing when not to fight, when to think instead of attack, when to be patient instead of aggressive. "Send word to the council," Bob ordered. "Tell them the threat is over. And tell them it was solved not through courage alone, but through wisdom, the human way. Because in the end, that's what humanity had always offered to the galaxy, not the strength of lions, but the wisdom of survivors. And sometimes, that made all the difference."